Dragonkin by Vanessa Finaughty. Kara shot up in bed, instantly awake. The shrill screaming continued outside the log cabin, reaching his ears above the howling wind. It hadn't been part of the dream. He sprang from the warm bed and grabbed his trusty wood-chopping axe, then dashed outside, without stopping to pull on more than a pair of thin trousers. Framed in the doorway, he squinted sleep-blurred eyes into the wind and stared down the mountain path, the only access to his cabin. A young woman came into view, racing towards him. Movement drew Karis's eye to the treetops, where a massive dragon pursued the woman, waiting for her to leave the safety of the tree-protected path, where it couldn't currently reach her. Karis rubbed his eyes and looked again, his heart pounding painfully. A dragon? He must still be dreaming. Dragons were mythical creatures. He wasn't interested in adventure, not even in his dreams, and turned to go back inside. He was going back to sleep. The woman screamed again, her desperate plea freezing Karis. "Help me!" His hand still on the door handle, Karis scowled, willing the dream to end. Heat seared his back and he spun as the silver-gray dragon swooped towards the woman with a triumphant screech that chilled his blood. The forest edge was now ablaze, the flames so blistering that they scorched his face from meters away. What in damnation? Dream or not, he wouldn't stand by idly while what he thought of as his forest was destroyed. Now he was mad. Karis raised the axe and yelled, "Hey! Over here, you giant puffed-up bird!" His shout saved the woman, who tripped just as the dragon's head jerked in Karis's direction. Its lips curled to display gleaming teeth that looked at least as long as a human forearm, and almost as thick. The woman dragged herself up, fear-filled eyes fixed on the terrifyingly real creature as it lunged at Karis. He was ready for it and swung the axe at its snout as it came for him. It connected with a solid thwack inside the dragon's mouth, the force so strong that its head was forced to the veranda's wooden boards, where its lower jaw was pinned. The dragon thrashed and Karis leaped over the veranda railing onto the sandy ground. He glanced at the woman, who remained rooted to the spot. Pieces of wood flew from the cabin and Karis ducked to avoid a large splintered plank. The veranda was strongly built. He'd made it himself, but it wouldn't hold the dragon for long. His eyes rested on the plank that had almost split his head in two, and fiery anger surged through him as he bent to pick it up. Ignoring the woman's strangled cry as the dragon destroyed more of his cabin trying to free itself, its spine-chilling wails cutting the air, Karis strode towards the burning tree line and dipped the plank into the flames. With grim determination, he walked boldly up to the dragon and stuck the burning wood inside its mouth. Its wails intensified, almost bringing Karis to his knees, but the added pain seemed to give it strength, and it finally broke free of the floorboards, though the axe remained firmly lodged in its lower jaw. Karis backed away, convinced it would attack him, but the creature flapped about wildly, shaking its head in an attempt to dislodge the axe. Karis raced inside and came back with his hunting bow. He took aim and let an arrow fly. It pierced the dragon's eye, and the creature dropped motionless to the veranda with a crash that took out half the cabin's front wall. Karis stared at it wide-eyed, hardly noticing the burning in his lungs. A dreamlike haze fuzzed his mind, but a glance at his ruined home told him either he was still caught up in the dream, or this was real. The woman stumbled up to him. "Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! I knew if anyone could save me, you could!" He'd almost forgotten about her. She clutched his arm. "Karis, right?" Karis jerked away. "What do you want?" She blinked, her baby blue eyes moist and her face streaked with dirt and tears. "I wanted you to save me, and you did." "You just said that," he snapped. "But you asked." Karis was angry about his home being partially ripped apart by a fearsome creature that shouldn't exist, because this blonde woman had led it to him. He scowled at her. I mean, what do you want now? It's gone, so run along. I have a cabin to repair. He moved to the side of the cabin and opened a wooden box that formed part of the wall, where he stored a spare axe. Thank goodness for that. He turned back to find the woman had followed him and stood staring at him. Why are you still here? He asked harshly, heading for the clearing's edge. The village elder sent me, she stuttered. What on earth for? Karis wound his way through the burning vegetation and then felled the first flaming tree swiftly, making sure it fell towards the clearing, effectively preventing the fire from spreading to the rest of the forest. The last row of trees would fall onto sand and the flames would soon die without further fuel. The woman peered through the trees from inside the clearing. What are you doing? Are you mentally challenged? He asked. What? And hard of hearing, he muttered as the next tree crashed. There's no need to be rude, she said, her hands now on her hips. Vildron sent me. He said you would help. Yes, your esteemed village elder who's never even laid eyes on me said I'd help. Presumptuous son of a turtle that he is. The next tree went down. The wind was thankfully blowing away from the forest, which made Karis's job easier. He said he had a vision of you defeating the dragons. Karis whirled to face her. Plural? There are more? She nodded. They attack villages across the land. Ours wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. Karis frowned as he turned to the next tree. Why would they do that? And since when do they even exist? What in damnation is going on here? He swung the axe hard. Splinters shot past his face as he jerked aside just in time to avoid losing an eye. It's sorcery. A sorcerer from the land beyond the great sea controls the beasts. He wants to rule this land, and any who refuse to submit to his will and call him king are destroyed. Perspiration slicked Karis's naked torso as he continued felling trees. The fire was almost out now. Luckily, only a few trees had been torched. Whole villages, you say, he muttered, only half listening to her. My name's Sasha, in case you wondered. I didn't, Karis snorted. Sounds like something I might name my dog if I had one. Why are you so obnoxious? She shouted. Karis cut down the last tree and then picked his way over the fallen trunks to the clearing, careful not to get too close to the dying flames. He gestured to the trees. This? His arm swept towards the cabin. And this, he glared at her, is your fault. How is that my fault? I didn't conjure the dragon. No, you just led it here. Oh, come on. Was Vildron wrong? Apparently not, since you aren't dead. What is wrong with you? You aren't gone, and part of my home is. Karis began chopping up a fallen tree. What are you doing? What does it look like? She huffed. I meant, what are you going to do with that? Karis looked at her. You really are stupid, aren't you? Why do you think a guy with a half-destroyed log cabin would be chopping wood? Sasha sat on her haunches, scanning the sky nervously. Look, I don't know why you're such a slab of misery, but if you think the sorcerer will leave you alone, you're mistaken. Once he's done with the villages, he'll start on the outlying farms and hermits like you. He wants everyone in the land to bow to him, and if you won't, His dragons will kill you. Kara straightened, shivering despite his exertion. How can you even see what you're doing in the dark? Sasha asked. Karis replied wearily. I just can. Always had excellent night vision. He glanced at the sky and then at her, only to find her staring at his exposed chest. I see your eyes are good enough to ogle me in the dark, so I don't know why you're so surprised that I can chop wood in the dark. He thought she blushed, but it was difficult to tell since her waist-length hair covered most of her cheeks. Sasha turned her head and said, Fildron didn't have time to tell me why, but he said that what you are will enable you to destroy the dragons, and the sorcerer if need be. What am I? Karis frowned. Sasha shrugged. That's what he said. I don't know what he meant by it. Karis began hacking at the trees again, his actions rough and venomous. Sasha said timidly, I know where you can find the sorcerer. I don't want to find him, Karis muttered. He'll find you, eventually. So you keep saying. Sasha moved back as Karis's chopping became more violent. Tell you what, Karis said. Go and ask Vildron what I am. Then come back and tell me, and perhaps I'll be interested in helping. Right now, I couldn't give a rat's arse about the land's problems. All I want is my cabin in one piece and my privacy. Sasha started crying. I can't. I hate crying women. It's one of the many reasons I live alone. His words made her cry harder, and she said, Vildron is dead. Ah, gobbled up by a non-existent creature, no doubt. It isn't funny. Sasha leaped to her feet. You're a selfish, arrogant pig. Feel free to remove yourself from said pig's presence, then. Where would I go? Somewhere there aren't any pigs. Karis grinned at her. Only an hour remained before dawn. Karis had spent the remainder of the night chopping wood to repair his cabin. He kept his bow and quiver close at hand, just in case another dragon came. None had, and he doubted Sasha's conviction that any would. The woman still sat in the sand, talking Karis half-deaf. He considered physically removing her, but since he had no front door left to keep her out and nowhere to remove her to, he had blocked out her voice and focused on the act of chopping wood, a menial task that always relaxed him. He almost had enough wood to repair his cabin now, and planned to spend the day sawing it into planks. The coming day would also have to be used to get rid of the dragon corpse before it attracted flies and started stinking. Sasha's droning was replaced by a shriek as a large shadow passed overhead and something big and unfriendly snarled. Karis looked up just as the silver-gray killer spewed a jet of flame at his cabin. The thatched roof caught fire immediately, the flames quickly spreading down the walls and to the interior. Karis's heart sank. He was going to need a lot more wood. Sasha cowered behind him as the dragon flew on, having apparently not noticed them. Karis fumed and hurled the axe after it, yelling, Come back here, you home-wrecking demon! The axe landed in the sand with a thunk as the dragon spiraled back towards them. Karis's eyes widened. He foolishly hadn't expected it to hear him. What have you done? Sasha whispered. Karis picked up his bow and quiver and slung the quiver across his back. Run! He dashed into the forest, knowing the dragon couldn't see them there. A jet of fire shot towards them, and the pile of wood Karis had spent half the night chopping went up in flames. He cursed. They sprinted down the path towards the mountain's base until they reached a bend, where Karis stopped, panting, and sorry that he'd taken time to don a shirt during the night, since the sweat-drenched cotton now clung to him uncomfortably. He considered taking it off, but didn't relish the thought of being ogled again. Sasha asked, "Why are we stopping?" Karis looked back. The whole forest burnt behind them now. The dragon was driving them out to where it could snack on them. "Follow me." He hopped over boulders and climbed a short distance, with Sasha complaining from the rear. When the rock became too steep to traverse further, he slid left onto a narrow ledge that overlooked the valley below. It was a steep drop and a long way down. Sasha squeaked, "This is suicide!" "The caves are near. It can't follow us there or drive us out. Stay here if you want. Maybe the dragon will finally shut you up." Karis edged along the ledge a few paces, then ducked into the cave's man-sized entrance. When Sasha didn't join him, he stuck out his head. She was frozen on the ledge just short of the cave. "Stupid woman's gonna get herself killed." He reached out, grabbed her arm, and yanked her inside. She opened her mouth to complain again, then squealed as the cave entrance went dark and a roar tore the air. Karis dragged Sasha away from the cave entrance and down the dark tunnel. The passage sloped gently down, and natural fissures in the roof let slivers of pre-dawn light filter through to light their way, although just barely. Not that Karis needed a light source with his perfect eyesight. Sasha asked, "Where are we going?" "Does it matter?" They walked in silence for a few minutes. Then Karis asked, "Does this sorcerer have a name?" Sasha whispered, "Grudon Nathorgona." "And he wants to be king, you say?" "Yes." "What castle will he use?" Karis asked sarcastically. There were no kings or kingdoms on this side of the sea. No castles or knights or armies. "The people are building him one." Karis scoffed. "What people are so stupid?" "Those who don't want to be eaten or burnt." Everything he knew and cherished was now destroyed. It would take weeks to rebuild, and Karis wasn't happy about having to sleep under the stars or in caves until then. He wouldn't have minded so much in summer, but it was the middle of winter now. His fingers tightened around his bow as an unbidden anger surged through him. Through clenched teeth, he asked, "And where would I find him?" "Oh, so you want to find him now?" "Fine. I'll just leave him to carry on with his thing." Sasha sighed. "In the next valley. Construction for the castle has started, and he lives in a stone house a short distance from it. His house is painted, so you can't miss it." "Painted? Why on earth would he do that?" "He says it's a sign of wealth and power. He thinks it looks nice." "I'm sure it looks hideous. What color is it?" Sasha said, "It does look horrid. The walls are dark yellow, and the doors and window frames are bright red." Karis shuddered. "Hideous. Yes." Sasha asked hopefully, "Does this mean you'll go and send him away?" "I don't know about sending him away. I feel like bloody killing him right now." "Which might be a good idea under the circumstances." Indeed. Karis had left Sasha in the caves with instructions to remain out of sight. He strode into the valley as if he owned it, heading straight for the revolting painted stone abode where the sorcerer was said to live. You'd have to be blind to miss it. A few meters behind it, large stones scattered the grass, and the thickest wall Karis had ever seen already stood higher than the average house's roof. He scowled. What a waste of natural materials. He rapped on the door 3 times, counted to 4, then rapped again when he got no answer. A villager stopped behind him. Karis, is that you? Karis turned to find one of the village hunters, Lionel. He held the reins of a donkey that pulled a cart filled with stones. The poor donkey looked exhausted. Karis nodded towards it. That's a bit cruel, isn't it? Lionel cast a guilty glance at the donkey. It's either that or he's dragon food. He shrugged. Karis asked, Where is the sorcerer? A shadow of fear flickered across Lionel's finely chiseled features. What do you want him for? He whispered. You should have stayed in your cabin where you were safe. Coming here will do you no good. Kara snapped. Safe? I don't have a cabin anymore, thanks to his damn dragons. The door opened behind him and Kara spun to face the sorcerer. He blinked in surprise. A young, red-haired, freckled, skinny boy who couldn't have been older than 12 or 13 stood framed in the doorway, his arms folded. He glared at Karis and Lionel. What's going on here? Karis asked coolly. Where is the sorcerer? The boy laughed. You're looking at him. Karis stared. Surely a mere boy hadn't conjured the dragons? According to Sasha, there were at least 20 of the blasted creatures. Well, 19, since he'd killed one. A child couldn't control such powerful magic. He peered behind the boy, but there was no one else in the house. Just me and the dragons. The boy grinned. Karis knew his thoughts must be written all over his face. He'd always been told he had an expressive face. We need to talk. He pushed past the boy into the house. I am King Grud. You are King Nobody, Karis interrupted. There are no kings this side of the Great Sea, and if there ever are, you won't be one of them. This game of yours is over. Where are your parents? Crudon glowered at Karis. My parents are not your concern. Where are they? Karis took a step towards Grudon as the boy closed the door. A look of uncertainty flickered in the child's eyes. If you must know, my dragons ate them. Karis opened his mouth to say something, then shut it again, his mind blank. What type of demon child would have his parents eaten alive? Crudon explained. There was a fire in my father's workshop. Once my father and the other villagers had put it out, in the mess, I discovered a note made by one of my ancient ancestors from millions of years ago. The child's eyes gleamed. There were also vials of what the note said was dragon's blood. Blood from the last dragon ever to live. My ancestor killed it and took its blood. He was going to conjure more to serve him so he could be king. But the dragon he'd killed had bitten him and its saliva poisoned him. Anyway, my father tried to get me to unconjure the dragons. He locked me in my room, so I got my new pets to free me. The only way they could. Karis stared at the boy. You speak of the legend. It said that the last dragon's eggs survived. Grudon shook his head. Not eggs, just one egg. Dragons only laid one egg per lifetime. But yes, the egg was hidden. I'm sure the hatchling died without its mother, though. It's long gone. Karis's chest tightened. Hidden by dragon magic. It was what the old tale said. It's long gone, Grudon insisted, looking increasingly nervous. Why are you so nervous, boy? I thought you wanted to be king. You think sorcerer kings who control dragons should be afraid of an egg or a simple hermit hunter living in the mountains? Grudon hesitated. Just as well you'll never be king. No land needs a weak, coward king who's a fool to boot. Groudon stamped his foot. Get out! Or what? Or my dragons will eat you. Karis raised an eyebrow. Oh, you mean like the one rotting on what's left of my veranda right now? It also thought it could eat me. Groudon's jaw dropped. He closed his eyes, and his face creased in concentration. Karis sensed that he was locating his dragons. When he opened his eyes, fear shone from them. I'm missing one. It's not missing. I just told you where it is. Now. Karis grabbed the boy's shoulders, and the child flinched. I want you to leave. Unconjure these dragons first. We can't have them destroying the peace. Groudon shook himself free. I will do no such thing, and you can't make me. Wanna bet? Karis asked menacingly. Wait! Wait for? What for? Your pets to raise more forester homes? You. Groudon hesitated. I felt it when you touched me. Speak sense, boy. It cannot be. But you are. Karis reached for Groudon again, but the child slipped under his arms and backed away. You're dragonkin. The boy's eyes sparkled in awe. And you aren't conjured. Of course I'm not conjured. I had parents, you know. Oh, do you remember those parents? Of course I. Karis frowned. Actually, now that he focused on his parents, he couldn't remember them. You're using sorcery to confuse me. Stop it right now, or. I'm not. Heat surged through Karis's chest, and he knew the boy told the truth. Groudon whispered, You are the dragon in the hidden egg. Do I look like a dragon to you? Perhaps that's why my ancestor couldn't find you. Your mother didn't just hide you. She hid your appearance. Even if you'd been found, you wouldn't have been recognized for what you are. And what am I? Groudon murmured. Dragonkin. You are the last dragon. Clearly I'm not, or I wouldn't be here, now would I? Although the boy's words rang true, Karis could not accept that he was the last of his kind. He had watched friends grow old and die, had heard the whispered rumors about how he didn't age, and had fled his homeland across the great sea to settle in this peaceful land where everyone minded their own business, and he could live in solitude away from awkward questions he couldn't answer. Steel glinted, and Karis stepped aside just in time to avoid Groudon's knife slicing his side. He gave the boy a backhand slap that sent him spinning across the room. Unconjure those dragons right now! Groudon shot back stubbornly. Make me. Okay. If the sorcerer was killed, his magic would vanish along with his life force. Karis drew his dagger and leaped at Groudon, who was just a little too slow for the hunter's finely honed reflexes. Before the boy could as much as flinch, he was lying on the stone floor with a slit throat, bright red blood the color of his window frames and door pooling around his head. 3 days later, Karis sat outside what had once been his cabin, gazing into the fire with Sasha pacing opposite. It was a known fact when a magic user died, their magic died with them. Yet the conjured dragons still roamed the land, their attacks more vicious by the day, destroying all life they came across, from plant to beast to man. It mattered not to them what they killed, as long as they killed. Sasha said, Please, you must slay them like you did the other one. Why me? Karis asked crossly. You're the only one who's been able to kill one. though many have tried. Karis had been trying to ignore her for the better part of the night, but the woman was persistent. She had also been looking at him strangely since he'd returned from killing the sorcerer. Perhaps she was upset that he had killed a child, though she said nothing about it. He sighed. I got lucky, but luck runs out. Sasha scowled and stopped pacing to look at him. When they've destroyed all life in this land, they'll move on to others. In the end, the entire world will be gone. Then you'll die anyway. So what are you saying? Better to die a brash fool than to try to save yourself? Slaying conjured dragons is trying to save yourself. Karis sighed. I have a confession, Sasha said out of the blue. Karis tensed. Confessions were never good in his experience. You mean like the confession where you told me the dangerous sorcerer was a mere boy? Sasha scowled. I keep telling you I didn't know that. I hadn't actually seen him for myself. Are you never going to let that go? Fine. Whatever. Karis waved at her. Confess away. I followed you to the village the other day, when you killed Groudon. Karis raised an eyebrow. Oh? Well, wow. We'll have to hang you for treason now. Sasha looked startled, and Karis laughed hollowly. I'm joking. I heard what Groudon said about you being... Karis avoided her gaze. Dragonkin. Karis snapped. Please. He was a foolish child with more power than he could handle. What a stupid thing to say a human is a dragon. I hope you aren't going to spread around that rubbish. Sasha said timidly. It could be that only your bloodline can vanquish them. Karis twitched, resisting the urge to smack her for saying that. He sensed that her words were as true as the sorcerer child's words had been, but he still refused to accept it. To do so would bring madness and a weight of responsibility he wasn't sure he could cope with. I'm not doing it, so shut up about it. I'm going to sleep. He lay back and closed his eyes. But Karis... Shut up, or I'll shut you up. She fell silent, and Karis drifted into an uneasy sleep. Karis awoke to Sasha's shrill screams, dragon snarls, and no fire. He jolted upright, sensing deadly jaws about to close around his skull. He rolled aside instinctively as jaws snapped shut where his head had just been. Sasha shouted, Behind you! Karis had already sensed the presence and rolled away from the fetid breath and sharp teeth, groping for his dagger. His fingers closed around it and he rose into a crouch and scanned the clearing for Sasha. She cowered near where the tree line used to be, dangerously exposed as he was. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. His axe lay nearby and he dashed towards it, but the silver-gray dragon was faster. As Karis's hand touched the axe's wooden handle, the razor-sharp teeth closed over his shoulder and upper torso. Sasha screamed. Karis's blood ran cold. Something sizzled. The dragon yelped and released him. Sticky, warm blood flowed down Karis's side. Dizzy, he dropped face down. Unearthly wails cut the air. Were they his? Sasha's? Or the dragon's? When Karis opened his eyes, his head pounded and his shoulder was on fire. He jolted upright, hitting his shoulder to put out the flames, only to find that there were none. He groaned and sank back, closing his eyes again. What in damnation? Sasha's worried voice said, Thank the gods you're awake. Karis groaned again. The way he felt, being conscious wasn't anything to be thankful for. Something important had happened, but he couldn't remember what. Sasha asked, How do you feel? Karis replied weakly, Like I'm on fire. He opened his eyes. Sasha grinned down at him, holding out a mug of something steaming. Drink this. It will chill the pain's flames and make you feel better. Karis took the mug and felt his shoulder tentatively. It was still sticky. I'm bleeding. Sasha chuckled. Not any more. That's Warlier's paste you feel. It closed the wound already and will heal it completely by afternoon. Karis had never heard of Warlier's paste. As if sensing his question, Sasha said, My grandmother's recipe. She dabbled a bit. In magic? Karis raised his head in surprise, then dropped it again as pain lanced through his neck. Just a little. Mostly healing creams and potions. Karis remembered the dragon. His head snapped up. Where is it? Sasha smiled. Dead. Over there. She pointed a short distance away to Karis's left. Karis frowned, squinting pain-ridden eyes at where she pointed. The dragon lay unmoving, just as she'd said. He hadn't killed it, and they'd been alone, so Sasha must have done it. He looked at her with newfound respect. See? I'm not the only one who can slay dragons. Sasha laughed. Oh, but you are. And just think, all you have to do is let them bite you. She giggled. What? Why would I do that? Whatever potion she had given him was clouding his mind, for she made no sense. Your blood poisoned it, Sasha explained. Talk sense, woman. Karis groaned again. When it bit you and got your blood in its mouth, it sizzled like acid or something. Then the thing started flapping around wildly, spitting, trying to get your blood out of its mouth. It dropped dead within moments. Her eyes sparkled with joy. Karis sighed as his mind cleared a little. So, you want to let the rest bite me? Are you completely mad? Of course not, she scoffed. Don't be daft. Here. She reached behind her and produced vials of what looked like blood. I took the liberty of collecting what bled out. You took my blood? Well, it was already out of your body. It's not like I wounded you or anything to get it. Kara sipped the bitter brew Sasha had given him, frowning at the vials. And just what do you intend to do with my blood? Dip these in it, of course. She held up 2 arrows. Karis's eyes narrowed. The woman was brilliant. If his blood poisoned the dragons, he could hunt them from a safe distance, shooting them with blood-tipped arrows. I'll help you, of course, Sasha said gaily. You saved my life twice now, and I'm an excellent marksman. Kara smiled at her. You know, you're not so bad after all. Sasha grinned back. Likewise, dragonkin.